everybody needs to realize this. You're worth so much more than anybody can pay you. And this is how you'll know. Your boss is paying you just enough to keep it working without quitting, but not so much money it takes money out of their pocket. If they paid you what you were worth, they would go broke. So what I suggest, and like what Rich does, what I do, we invest in real estate. When you have real estate that makes you money without you working, that's when you become successful and employed and find another way to provide for yourself without working for somebody else. So I'll pause the story because you probably got plenty of questions.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I got a special guest. I got someone who just flew in from Nashville, Tennessee. He's investing in multifamily apartments, and he is also the host of the Massive Passive Income podcast. I got none other than my man, Dustin Heiner. Dustin, welcome to the show.
What's up, Rich? Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I just absolutely love investing in real estate because that's what gets me to not work for somebody else. I love the term successfully unemployed. Basically, instead of being retired, I'm successfully unemployed because I do plenty of other things. I have 4 other businesses that I run, plus a real estate.
That's a good one. Successfully unemployed. That's
absolutely.
A good one.
But I get to come out and hang out with great people like you and talk on podcasts and stuff like that because I have real estate that works for me. That's why I love passive income.
Yeah, absolutely. How long have you had your podcast for?
2006, no, probably 17. 16, I was planning in 16, then 2017 when I started. So it's Master Passive Income.
That's a long time to have a podcast. I'm telling you right now, man, 80% of podcasts die within the first 10 episodes. People realize, hey, it's a lot of work. Because I always say, hey, it's one of the biggest hacks. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I'm just looking to like grow. I'm looking to level up my life in whatever asset class it is, whatever business, whatever your niche is. It could be fitness. Whatever, it is the biggest hack because you get to interview people that are a lot smarter than you. And so you've been doing it since 2016, dude. That's a long time, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it's honestly the best way. Like if you want to connect with people, 100% best way to connect with people because other people want to be highlighted as well. They want to come on your show. They want to talk to you. And so you get seen as somebody pretty high, but also my audience, the people that I want to serve, my goal is to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. I make my money through real estate. Yeah, I just want to help people invest. And so when I created my podcast, I thought, you know what I can do is I could write an article and people spend maybe a minute reading it on the blog. Or I can create a YouTube video and out of it, like a 12-minute video, they'll maybe watch 3 minutes. But on my podcast, let's say 100% of the people start. By the time 35, 40 minutes later, 85% are still listening. Because if you deliver value, bring on good people, you make sure that you're delivering what they want, you're helping them get past hurdles, you're helping them to realize that they have more that they can offer to the world in general because they've learning from you. So in the end, podcasting is by far one of the biggest things that's grown my net worth in general. In fact, my investing, we just bought 355-unit apartment complex in Nashville, was because of podcasting. It connected me with a friend of mine now that, hey, let's start investing together. So podcasting by far is my favorite thing to do.
So how'd you get into real estate investing?
Yeah. So man, there was something that like a life-changing event that happened for me that literally forced me to do this. So like you, I work for the government. So I worked in the local county government in California and I got the most stable, secure job, risk-free job you could ever think of. So working for the government in California, doing technology. California's not going away. Technology, government's not going away. So I have been taught, just like we're all taught, to go to school, get good grades. You take those good grades, you go to college, you get in thousands of dollars into debt, get a piece of paper, it's called a degree, and then you go hopefully shop around to other jobs or companies and hopefully get a career and then work 40 plus years of your life and then retire 40 years later and live on 40% of what you managed to save.
That's the American dream, man.
Yeah, I guess so. Was following the exact same thing. But then I bought one rental property. It was 2006. Before the crash of 2008, I bought one property and that property made me money without working. I was like, my goodness, this is amazing. It was $317. I remember that check, plain as day, $317 in 2016 or 2006. Then, you know what happened, Rich? Like life started getting in the way. I knew I needed to be an investor, but my wife and I started having kids. Work just kept being work. But here's what really shoved me to say, no more, I got to do this. And so my wife and I started having kids. We had our 4th child and I went on paternity leave. That's where the dad stays home with the mom, changes poopy diapers, all that good stuff, bonds with the baby. Well, 2 weeks later, I get back to work. And on a Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon, I get a call from the boss's secretary, like top dog. And she says, Dustin, would you please come to the office? I said, sure. I hung up the phone. I thought, why are they calling me in the office? Like, this isn't normal. And this is Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. I've seen plenty of movies. This doesn't seem like a good sign. And I remembered a couple months before I went on paternity leave, there was some rumors or some rumblings going on that there could potentially be layoffs in the county because they were having shortfall of taxes. So I immediately shook it off though, because I was 12 years seniority there. My bosses think I do a great job. I get raises and reviews, everything stellar. So I get up, shaking that thought off, and I go down the hallway and I start walking down the hallway. And as I'm walking down, it feels like the hallway gets longer and longer and longer. Feels like my feet become lead bricks because the thought is really crushing me that I could potentially lose my job. Well, I get down the hallway and I turn the corner and I see my boss's door. His door's closed and I see his secretary there. Super sweet, nice old lady. She says, "Dustin, would you please have a seat?" And she's trying to console me with her eyes, kind of sheepishly grinning at me because she knows everything about what's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. So I go and I take my seat. And as I'm sitting there, my hands get all clammy, my forehead gets all sweaty because the nerves of potentially losing my job starting to crush me. But then I realized, oh my goodness, we just had our fourth child. If I get laid off right now, I can't feed my family. Does that make me a failure as a father? Does that make me a failure as a man trying to provide for my family? Well, as I'm sitting there, the door opens up to my boss's office and out walks a coworker of mine, noticeably distraught, noticeably upset, not necessarily crying, but you could tell her world has been rocked. She has a piece of paper in her hands and she walks by me. My boss says, "Dustin, would you please come to the office?" So I get up and I go in the office and I get laid off. Now, this is the reason why I tell the story. This is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off the government, but I did. Now, obviously, we got Doge coming in and doing that too, but this
Yeah.
was back in 2000 and
Shout
I
out
think
to Elon.
exactly. This was back in 2009 or 10. And so I take that layoff notice, but here's the reason why I tell the story. Take that layoff notice and I go back to my desk and I sit down thinking about my life and looking at this layoff notice. I realized two things. Number one, I need to find another job. I need to get another job to both provide for my family. I'm really blessed, praise the Lord, to find another job in the same county, another department wasn't having those issues. Check. But the second thing I realized, sitting there in that desk, I need to make sure this never, ever happens to me again. I need to make sure that nobody has the ability to take away my ability to feed my family. So right then and there, I said, no longer will I ever reply whenever anybody asks me the question, "Dustin, what do you do?" I would say, "I work for the county doing technology." Well, I'm basically projecting out to the world that the value that I put on myself comes from my job. No, my value doesn't come from my job. My value comes from my God, myself, and from my family. So right then and there, Rich, I started telling every single person that I am an investor. It may so happen that 100% of my money comes from my job. That's my part-time job. I am a full-time investor. So fast forward the story. Started buying property after property after property, each one making me $200, $500, $600, $1,000 a month in passive income. Eventually I had 30 plus properties and I didn't need to work again. So quick last part of the story, new boss, this new job, working there for a couple of years, but I go to him, I said, "Hey boss, I'm laying you off." I give him a layoff notice jokingly and we laugh and he says, "Dustin, what are you gonna do?" I said, "I don't have to do a thing. I own real estate that makes me money without working." So the last quick part of the story, every day I would walk to and from my car to my work. It was downtown, a mile and a half. I've done this 1,000 times. I felt like I was walking on clouds, walking back to my car at the last time, leaving my job because I knew I would never, ever need a job again, as opposed to the time walking down where I got fired. Oh, like you laid off from my job because the hallway got longer and longer. Well, this time I realized that my value now doesn't come from my job. It comes from myself. So everybody listening, you'll realize that you are not getting paid what you're worth. Everybody needs to realize this. You're worth so much more than anybody can pay you. And this is how you'll know. Your boss is paying you just enough to keep it working without quitting, but not so much money it takes money out of their pocket. If they paid you what you were worth, they would go broke. So what I suggest, and like what Rich does, what I do, we invest in real estate. When you have real estate that makes you money without you working, that's when you become successful and employed and find another way to provide for yourself without working for somebody else. So I'll pause the story because you probably got plenty of questions.
Yeah. So a couple things here. You mentioned you had to start identifying yourself not with what your job was, but you had to start identifying yourself with, "Hey, I'm a real estate investor." And I think that is a interesting transition for a lot of folks that are, making maybe working a full-time W-2 and then they're getting into real estate investing. Maybe their goal is to get out of the W-2 and to be a full-time real estate investor. Myself included, I was a full-time air traffic controller. And there was a point in the transition where it's like, well, I'm still making my money as an air traffic controller and I'm not really investing in real estate yet. I'm like thinking about it, or maybe I had done a deal, but I'm like making the majority of my income from the day job still. And so I had to start shifting the way that I was walking around and presenting myself when I would go to real estate networking events, or I would meet neighbors and meet other folks out in the street. Like, yo, my name is Rich. Nice to meet you. What do you do? I'm a full-time real estate investor. Boom. I am not a full-time air traffic controller that, oh, by the way, this is my side hustle. I'm like, no, I'm a real estate investor. Nice to meet you. What do you do? And I think when you start identifying yourself under the new identity, that is the first step to becoming the new identity. People always ask, what's the best way to become X, or what's the best way to become Y? The best way to become anything is to start with identifying yourself as that new thing.
Well, it starts in your mind first, though, because I had to actually, the big reason why I tell the story is hopefully people won't have to go through what I went through, having 4 kids and then all of a sudden my income getting stopped. Oh my goodness, that's like, how are we going to eat? But with that, I had to go through that shift in my mind first to realize that this was a problem with me identifying as with my job. Instead of that, now, change that shift. You're 100% right. You have to then become that because you're starting to identify. But the greatest thing on top of this is that if you keep telling everybody you're an air traffic controller, that's where people are going to know you as. But instead, if you want to be a book writer, no, I'm an author. Even though you have another job doing something else, no, I'm an author. Oh, what do you write? Or if you want to be a public speaker, you start telling everybody that you're a public speaker. I told everybody I'm a real estate investor. Because of that, I got so many more people that want to invest. Like, everybody knows me as an investor. They want to invest in my deals. They want to sell me properties. They want me to buy properties for them, or whatever it might be. It is so much better because once they know you as that, then you literally are that. There's no going back from it.
100%. And it's like telling the world what you're doing, and it's going to come back to you. You got to talk about what you're doing. And that's why I think, like, I put everything out there on a podcast, on social media. I talk about what I'm doing, because by me simply talking about what I'm doing or what I'm going to do, one, it's accountability. It's the best form of accountability. But number two, simply by me talking about it, I'm going to have a lot of people reach out and be like, hey, like, I'm actually really interested in what you do. Like, tell me more about it. Or, hey, I have an opportunity for you. And more opportunities as a byproduct of it, of just talking about it, are going to fall in your lap because of it. A question for you. So you mentioned that it was a really good feeling when you walked away from the day job. Did you already have the real estate portfolio? Like, were you already doing it on the side for quite some time before you punched out of there? Or did you punch out without the certainty of knowing if you...
My wife wouldn't let me do that. No,
okay.
She would. But no, we had, it took me about 8 years. And then I had...
8 years of doing it in both?
Yes, of doing both.
And how did you know it was the right time?
It was so funny. I realized I was losing money. Even though I was making $75,000 a year, I think I quit in 2015, 16. I was making $75,000 a year. I realized I was losing money because of how much time it was taking me to work at this job as opposed to continue building my business. Now, I'm so glad that I did. I make, like, I can't even 10, 15, 20 times what I made at my job now, maybe even more, because now, and this is the biggest thing I want everybody to realize too, is that when you don't work for somebody else, that's 40 plus hours of your life getting back to you. Where, let's say you want a hobby. Yeah, go after a hobby. I did that. I started playing golf. I started lifting a lot more weights. I started doing a lot more fun things. But then I realized I had more to give. I had more things to do to help people. And so now I create businesses. I have multiple businesses, from Master Passive Income.
What are your businesses?
So I have real estate investing is one. I have Master Passive Income. That's where the podcast and the coaching courses and everything that we do, we've helped thousands of people to invest in real estate. And my goal is to help 1 million people. Now we also have a live in-person conference, 500, 600 people, where it's called the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. That's another thing that we do to bring people together, to help people to invest. And we have sponsors that sponsor that. So those are the main 3 businesses that we have on top of any other ancillary businesses that we have. But when you have 40 plus hours of your life back every single week, you can build businesses and you make more money.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And it all starts with just kind of like that, taking that first step. Take an action. I always say take action even when you don't believe in yourself. It's the best way to get some experience, because the experience leads to competency. Competency leads to confidence. And, for me, I remember cashing out my 401k in 2019 to get my start in real estate investing. And at the time, I thought I was just buying a 11-unit apartment building in Cincinnati for $350,000. I get a little drip of cash flow. I really wasn't thinking much past that, but it was like, and that was scary doing that first deal. But what I didn't realize is, like, me doing that first deal that was 11 units and scary led to the confidence to do the second deal, and then the third deal. And then now fast forward to like deal 11, 12, 13, I built, an $85 million thing and have investors and I have a couple businesses and like it's become a real thing. And it's become my entirely new identity. And so I think the takeaway is one, take action even when you don't believe in yourself. But number two, don't be afraid to jump in and grow whatever it is that you want to do, because at the end of the day, I think life is very short. And, you got to ask yourself, like, what's the priority? What do you really want to do?
Well, what do you want your life now? What do you want your life in the end to sum up to? What I mean is, the most expensive commodity you can ever spend, never make any more of, you can't create or earn any more of, it's time. And so the more wealthy that I get, the more I realize my time is going so much faster. I need to spend my money to get my time back. I need to spend money to make sure that I have time to do whatever I want in my life. And so when you think about, if you're spending your entire life working for somebody else, that's not a bad thing. In fact, I think 80% of the population of the world should just be employees. They're great. Then they don't mind it. They love it. But the other 20%, like us, people listening to your show, we are the type that the other 20% that we don't settle for less. We don't settle for things that are like, oh, this is good enough. No, if you think there's something bigger out there for you, and I like the way you did it, because I did the very same thing, where if I said, you know what, I want to buy a $500 million apartment complex and I've never done any deals, that's a huge learning curve. But if you prove to yourself little by little, I think there's a investor roadmap. The roadmap starts where you're a beginner. You need to prove to yourself with a smaller deal. It doesn't have to be a single family home. It could be 5 units, 10 units, something like that. But you need to be able to prove to yourself that it works, because it's in your head. That's where your biggest hurdle is going to be, in your head, because you conceive, okay, I could buy a $550,000 or $1 million apartment complex. You can conceive that, but you don't have the network. You don't have the experience. You don't have the cash flow. You don't have anything to be able to do that. But if you, as the investor roadmap starts, you as a beginner start, you buy, prove it to yourself, and then you do it again a little bigger, maybe double the size, maybe 3 times the size. But as you grow, then you become, and you mentioned this when you were on my show. So you need to stabilize your investments. When I quit my job, and like I said, I could not quit. My wife would not let me unless I stabilized all my properties. We had 30 plus properties. We had fluctuations, like some evictions. We had just bought another property, so we were fixing that up. So cash flow was going up and down really huge, but then we stabilized it. And that is where the second part of this roadmap is. You need to stabilize your income. And then the third part is we become an investor, where we are currently now, where we're investing in larger deals. We're getting other people to invest in our deals because we've already got financial independence. Now we're able to grow and grow other people's wealth as well. So that's the whole process. And I loved how you did it. Exact same thing. You prove yourself that it works. Then you multiply and replicate it and multiply out. Then you scale it. Then you stabilize. And then now you get into bigger deals.
If you love real estate investing, passive income, and tax benefits, but don't have the time, my company, Summers Capital, is buying boutique hotels right now. We source the deals, we renovate the properties, and we even handle all the day-to-day management, making it truly hands-off for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show.
Yeah, and it's really not it's not the 9 to 5 that like determines your ability to get into entrepreneurship, real estate investing, business, etc. It's not that. Like, you need the 9 to 5. I think it's almost a necessity. Without the 9 to 5, I wouldn't have had the 401k that I built up over 11 years to like have that seed money to go invest into real estate. And I don't suggest raising money for your first deal. I believe that you should go and like, learn your lessons and make the mistakes and get punched in the mouth with your own money before you go and raise money from others.
Absolutely.
And so, for me, the 9 to 5 was good. Now, the question is what you do with your 5 to 9 between the hours of 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. That is going to determine your ability and, the likelihood that you're going to get into entrepreneurship, real estate investing, etc. And so I know for a 9-month span for myself, I literally stopped going out. I went through a season of I stopped going out. I sacrificed a lot of things. I sacrificed social life, and I was working 6 days a week as an air traffic controller, 56 hours a week. And literally all I did was I studied, I listened to podcasts, I read books, and I literally ate, slept, and breathed real estate investing. And that's all I did for 9 months straight. I started going to networking events before I even owned any real estate. And I knew at the time, and everyone was telling me like, hey, it's too risky to go out of state. They said it was too risky to cash out your 401k, coworkers, friends, family. And I knew at the time, like I wanted it so bad that I knew that it was not a question of if, it was just a matter of when. And I think my biggest takeaway looking back is like all those risks are real. So put some weight on them. But on the other side of the balance scale is another risk. And it's this: I could be 80 years old one day, laying in my bed, staring at the ceiling, kicking myself because I never fucking tried anything in life. How about that risk? That's a risk too that a lot of people don't allude to. And so I think like for anyone listening to this right now and you're like, dude, I want to get into real estate investing. I want to get into entrepreneurship, but I just don't know if I have the time because I'm working a 9 to 5. Like, dude,
No,
like Dustin, you were working the 9 to 5 and building the real estate stuff for like 8 years together.
I even had a business. Let me quickly go through what I had. I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go to CrossFit from 5 to 6. Then I had a convenience store that I started from the ground up. I opened that up and had my employees run it. Then I went to my job. And then in the meantime, on my lunch, I'd be looking at real estate. I'd be buying real estate. After my job, after 5 o'clock, I'd go back, close down my store. And then I would go home at 7, 8 o'clock, eat dinner, say hi to my wife and kids, and then go to bed and do it all over again. But there's a word that you use that people kind of get scared of, is the word sacrifice. Sacrifice is a great word because you're sacrificing now for future, but I like to have the term delayed gratification. Now, for 8 years, I worked my tail off all day, every day. Like you said, that's my day over and over again. I would be doing this. But now, after 8 years of doing this, I literally have nothing to do because I have businesses now. I have real estate that make money for me, but it's the delayed gratification because you're realizing I'm going to put off the good things for the future and work hard, the sacrifice. Work hard now where I don't go out and do things. I go to real estate investor meetups. I get around people that are doing it. I go to conferences that have people that are experts and connecting me with other people. When you have delayed gratification, that's going to make everything so much better because when you go after immediate gratification, you have a small amount of pleasure and a long amount of pain. The opposite, I'd rather have short amount of pain, a long amount of pleasure.
That's really good. Yeah, I mean, I feel like everything that we do is delayed gratification, right? You're sacrificing short-term pain for long-term gain. Think about getting in shape, fitness. You go to the gym on, first week of January, it's crowded. Everyone's on New Year's resolution. You never see so many people at the gym before. And then the first week of February, they're all gone. It's like, where did they go? And so, same thing as fitness. It's the same as real estate investing and business. It's like, it is long-term gratification. It is a long game. And like, you got to really want it. You got to desire it. Like you got to love the game and you got to like be addicted to the growth. And even podcasting, we talked about at the top of the show, 80% of podcasts die within the first 10 episodes because people realize it's not easy. It's going to require work. It doesn't grow as quickly as you think it is in the first 6 months. Like that's just everything, right? But I think the sauce with everything, the magic with everything is like, can you do something for a 12 months straight? Can you work on your fitness and eat clean for 12 months straight? If you do, you're going to see crazy results. Can you work on your business and stay focused on that one thing for 12 months straight? Can you go through a season of no alcohol for 12 months straight? Can you go through a season of no drugs for 12 months straight? If you do anything for 12 months straight and you stay focused on that one thing, it will change your life in so many fucking ways, but most people are not willing to do that.
And I agree. And there's a couple terms out there that people use like self-love or self-care. I don't believe in either one of those. I believe in self-control. When you have self-control, you make sure that you do the things that you're supposed to. If you're going to do 12 months where you're saying, I'm going to get in shape, and you have self-control to push yourself the entire 12 months, or I want to buy my first property in the first, let's say 3 months. In the next 3 months, I want to buy my first property, and you have the self-control to not go party, not go on trips, not waste money, not do things that are going to deter you from the direction you want to go. When you have self-control, that's actually going to make you so much stronger in the end because you have fortitude now to be able to get through the hard times. Because you said it, man, real estate investing, business owners, it's not a quick scheme. It's not. But hard times will come. But the people that have self-control that can push through it, you're going to have so many good times afterwards. The hard times are just a very short time. Every single business that you start, real estate that you buy. But once you get past that, you're realizing that wasn't that bad. Now this next thing coming up, that might be a hurdle, but I'm going to get over that too because you have self-control now, making yourself get through it.
Question for you. Because you took about 8 years where you were doing both before you like walked away from your government job. I did both for probably a year and a half, maybe closer to 21 months before I had everything I thought I needed before I went all in. And I had about 80% of what I thought I needed. And that was enough for me to go all in. But look, I didn't have kids at the time. I wasn't married. I didn't even have a girlfriend at the time. And so for me, it was just me. But I did walk away from a government pension. And I walked away from a career that no one walks away from. And, it was scary. And I didn't know if it was going to work. But a lot of my growth came after I walked away because now I reallocated the 56 hours a week into this full-time thing, into building my own thing and betting on myself and building my own version, my own brand. And that's when everything really started to multiply. So a question for you is, do you feel like if someone's listening to this right now and they're like thinking about this new thing and they're thinking about quitting their job to get into business or real estate, do you think that they should burn the boats and quit and go all in? Or do you think that they should do both on the side until they're comfortable enough to go all in?
Man, everybody has different risk tolerances. So I've coached hundreds, if not thousands of students now to invest in real estate and have had many students become financially independent. And that question does come up. Hey, should I quit now because I have more time to put into real estate investing? And the only thing I could tell them is what I have done, like my risk tolerance, but they have to figure out what their own risk tolerance is, what their goals are, what their financial situation. And, if they're married, if they have to pay for food. And so I personally love the idea of keeping a job for many different reasons. Many different reasons why, especially if you're investing in real estate. Let's say you're going to buy a residential property. It's so much easier to get a loan if you have a job. A W-2 makes the mortgage company say, yeah, we'll just give you a loan. Go ahead and buy the property and then turn it into an Airbnb and start making money. So when you have a job, you have that, I guess, security blanket of that. Plus you have the ability to buy properties. But now, if you realize that you can hustle, like if you can hustle and if somebody has that determination and they are saying, you know what, I'm going to go after it. Say, yeah, if that's your risk tolerance, then go after it. Because each person, they have to act on their own risk tolerance. Like, honestly, the reason why I keep bringing this up is that every single student that I walk through this process, they have to make the right decision for them. I can only tell you what I've done. I know what you've done. And so everybody's going to, because you're going to have your own hangups too. As you're going to, let's say you think, okay, I shouldn't, but I'm going to go ahead and do this or that, whatever it might be. No, you make your own decisions because your conviction on that decision is going to help you keep moving forward on it.
Yeah, I mean, you did it for 8 years. I did both for like 21 months. And I think the truth is if you got kids, if you got, more responsibility, the truth is that you're probably going to have to take more of a safer route. But if you have like nothing to lose and like, let's just say that like you rent a room with like at a house with 5 roommates and like you don't have any bills and you're just like, you're working a job that you're not making much money anyways. Dude, like you have nothing to lose at that point. So you
100%.
might as well go all in.
Yep.
But if it's the other extreme, like I was making decent money at a job where I had a pension and it's a career where most people never walk away from. Well, that's a bigger decision to make. And maybe you prove out the model a little bit more before you jump all in. But I would say as soon as you have the ability to jump all in and the confidence to do so, like you got to do it.
Well, I 100% agree. And I also say that not everybody has that desire to become financially independent in a way to
And that's
quit their
okay.
job.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's totally okay. Because some people tell me, hey, Dustin, I just want to invest in real estate so I get some extra money that I can pass these down to my kids in generational wealth. But I love my job. I'm like, that's fantastic. What you need, though, is freedom to make it a choice to choose to work. How much better would it be instead of you saying, I have to work because I have to this? Because right now your job might be great and you have a great boss and everything. But let's say tomorrow you get a horrible boss. And you're like, oh man, I wish I had an option where I could quit. That's what I think everybody needs is freedom to be able to make the choice for themselves. And when you have real estate, when you invest in create businesses, invest in yourself, then it's less risky, in my opinion, working for yourself, owning real estate than working for somebody else. Because I'm proof. I literally got laid off when nobody was getting laid off ever in the history of government. But I got laid off and I had to figure out another way.
Yeah. What does true freedom mean to you?
Ooh, so a number of different things. So I absolutely love money freedom, but that leads into something else. So money freedom, everybody needs to have this legacy or the freedom of money to be able to afford anything they want. When you work hard, this is the hardest step to the longest and the hardest one to get to. The other ones are much easier. So you work hard to become financially independent so you can buy whatever you want. But that leads into time freedom. So that money leads into time. Now you have time to do whatever you want, go wherever you want, but you have the money to help you to do that as well. Spend that time however you want. But then that time leads into a relationship legacy where you're now, let's say you worked 8 years and you didn't go to your kid's little league game. You didn't do this, that, or the other. You didn't let relationships kind of slide. Now it's time to put that time back into relationships. So money freedom that leads into a time freedom. That time leads into a relationship freedom where you build up your relationships. But here's the last one. I think you and I are in this place now, a service freedom or service legacy where now we serve other people. I absolutely make so much more money when I serve more people. When you're working a job, you're serving one person, your boss. Now they might have hundreds and hundreds of customers, and you might think that's who you're serving. No. You're serving one person. That one person's paying you. Then you make it's just a little bit of money. Let's say you start a business and then you have your own business where you have, let's say 300 customers. Those are your small bosses. You make more money, but you're still limited. When you start figuring out a way to serve more people, now my life, the only business that I create is how can I serve more people? How can I buy a 375 unit apartment complex that serves 375 people as opposed to one, small family? So when you look at how do you serve more people, you're going to make so much more money. I think Zig Ziglar said it best, says you can buy anything you want or afford anything you want in life. You just got to figure out how many people you need to serve in order to get that. I 100% agree. The more people you serve, the better your life gets, the better their life gets, and better everybody's life gets.
That's so good. I always say your true riches in life are time, health, and freedom. Money is just a tool to buy them. Dustin, appreciate you coming on the show, my man. I'm a big fan of everything you're doing. Where can the folks get in touch with you? And also, I just recorded a podcast on your podcast channel. Where can the folks go listen to your podcast and learn more about you?
Absolutely. Master Passive Income is the podcast. And so I just love helping people to invest in real estate. I have 1 million people. Do you mind if I give everybody a free course?
Of course. Do it.
I'm going to give everybody a free course. You're probably listening on podcast. If you text the word rental, RENTAL, rental to 33777, rental to 33777, or you can go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course, all one word, /free course. I'll give you a course that many people have just taken this and invest in real estate, show you how to find a property anywhere in the country to invest, scale your business to be able to become financially independent. You can also check me out at Master Passive Income, YouTube, podcast, everything like that. I also really have been getting into Instagram. Instagram's rather fun. And I get DMs, so you can reach out to me. I love getting DMs, love chatting with people. The Dustin Heiner, THE, Dustin Heiner. And in the end, I want to see you change your life by investing in real estate. So get my free course, come reach out to me, listen to the podcast. But Rich, thank you so much for having me on.
He's Dustin Heiner, successfully unemployed. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.